A number of them were related to the finances of the RTA. As you know, we have a plan that was adopted by voters in 2006. That plan identified $2.1 billion worth of expenditures. I'm getting some feedback. I don't know whether that's coming. Amber, if you wouldn't mind muting. Okay. I think that nailed it. Thank you. At any rate, it identified $2.1 billion worth of expenditures over the life of the RTA. And that was based upon a revenue forecast that had been done at the same time. With the Great Recession, those revenues have not been realized. And so we've had to scale back and bring in additional funds to ensure that we could fund the programs to the maximum extent possible, preferring the named projects and then allowing the other projects that were not named to be diminished proportionately to the revenues. We also brought in other regional funds that were discretionary. And that was done by the RTA board and the PAG Regional Council back in 2014. They committed funding from fiscal year 20 through fiscal year 26. Those regional funds, the federal funds and the state highway funds, to make up some of the gap, focusing on those named projects, which is the named projects were the roadway element projects, 35 of them, and the modern streetcar. So those are all fully funded at the original ballot amount. Everything else we had to basically look to manage to the amount of money that was coming in. And that's something we've been working on with the transit element as well. What that has meant is that the initial suite of projects that we rolled out back in 2006 to 2010, we've been able to sustain those, but we haven't been able to bring in additional transit projects that we'd hoped to because of the decline in the revenue. Recently, we have actually seen some surprising improvements. While we adopted a budget this fiscal year that was 15% less than what we had estimated it to be. This was an estimate that was done by the Eller College of Eller Management College, the Economic and Business Research Center. They produce for us revenue estimates every 2 to 3 years, and that's what we look at our budgets being based on a going forward basis. Our most recent Eller forecast was done in 2019, and we, for our budget in this current fiscal year 21, we actually took that Eller estimate for this year and reduced it by 15%. In reality, we've seen a very interesting recovery from the pandemic. We've seen certain industry groups get really very heavily hit. The hospitality group of industries, the restaurants and bars, amusements, and transient housing or hotel motel taxes are all well down. But we've seen a huge increase in construction. So new home sales are up. We've seen very low interest rates, which seem to be helping to fuel that. Plus, with the pandemic, there seems to be some increase in relocations to the Tucson metro area. So people are not, if they're not having to go to the work in an office, they can work from home. They're able to choose where they want to live a little more freely than they might have previously. So we're seeing some migration out of some of the very costly urban markets, and we're a recipient of that or beneficiary of that. So that's part of it. Right now, this fiscal year to date, we're actually 10% above what we had collected for the same initial 5 months of the year last year. So a bit of a surprise, being 10% above instead of 15% down. So there's a big gap between what we had budgeted for this year and what we're actually receiving. Now, it's not, although we are in the Christmas season, this doesn't mean, Merry Christmas, big presents. It's meaning that the impact is not as severe as we might have thought. And we still have a long way to go in this fiscal year. There are industries that are way down. We get a big chunk of our revenue annually as a result of the spring tourist season. We've had a lot of events that have canceled that typically generate money for us. We know that the Gem and Mineral Show is a big economic driver for the region, as are the rodeo and other just cyclical patterns of tourism that we will likely not see this year. So we're not out of the woods yet. We're ahead in the first few months. Hopefully, it'll level out and we'll end up with not realizing that 15% drop. But I don't think it's going to be quite as rosy as we may be being led to believe it is as a result of our first 5 months of revenue this year. So that's part of the revenue conversation I wanted to share with folks. Moving on to the budget. We did update the budget. It's based on current IGAs that we have with the city of Tucson primarily, and contracts that we have with Total Ride and our other transit providers. If Crystal, you could bring up the budget, why don't we kind of roll through it and we'll talk about them on an item by item basis. And while Crystal's doing that, I wanted to remind everybody that the purpose of this is, not to identify exactly to the dollar what we're going to be spending next fiscal year on things, but this is about a 5-year outlook so that we can plan for the remaining life of the RTA and identify what those projects are going to be. Although this looks like the tip, and that's the way it's being presented, and so we're all familiar with the formatting. It in fact is only a universe of RTA projects, and if as you know, we went through 5307 programming last month. There's only one project in here that shows 5307 funding in it that we'll talk about in a moment. So this is not the tip. This is simply a plan for the remaining life of the RTA as it relates to those transit projects. So once we've gotten this done, we had a review of our roadway element projects last month with the TIP subcommittee. What we'll do is we'll put all of these pieces together, and then we'll be able to come up with a view of what additional resources will be available to us. And we think there will be additional resources after we identify all of our known commitments. We'll come up with an ability to identify what additional revenues will be available for us to distribute to the projects, and the method or the policies associated with those distribution or those funds to be distributed are going to be that is the province of the RTA board. They'll give us priorities. We'll have that conversation, and then there'll be a conversation further on down the line on how we program it. So again, this is an effort to identify what the plan is in order to continue the services that we currently have that are RTA funded. So with that, I'll kind of go through them. We have groupings, and they're by ballot number. The first project at the top of the list is the RTA 44, which is the Suntran weekday evening services. That's the expansion. We have an intergovernmental agreement with the city of Tucson in fiscal year 2021. We basically have expanded that on a going forward basis by 3% per year. And that seems to be a pretty reasonable number. It's along the lines of what we've seen transit growth in the last few years. So For fiscal year 22, that's at 3% greater than what we have as a current IGA estimate for our fund for our service in fiscal 21. And again, that estimate was based upon normal activity, not reduced due to the current pandemic. So it's something that we think will be sustainable when we come back from the pandemic restrictions. The next line is RTA 45. That is the weekend service expansion that was done. This was rolled out back in 2007, 2008, and it's been pretty consistent since that time. Much like the weekday evening services, it was additional service over and beyond what what was previously provided. And that also is based upon our current estimate, or our current IGA, and then expanded out at 3% per year. Then we move into RTA 46, which has a number of projects that are part of it. Administrative and maintenance facility, that's a project that we funded capital on, and we have an ongoing, very modest commitment to operations, $29,000 a year, and then we grow that out at the end to come up with to meet the final contracted IGA balance that is there. But between now and the end of the RTA, we'll be consuming what remains in that IGA that we entered into with the city of Tucson. Thanks for expanding that. I can read it now. The next item is the Suntran frequency and area expansion. And again, that's based upon an IGA that we entered into with the city of Tucson. That's part of it. Added to that is the cost of Sun Shuttle Route 450. Sun Shuttle Route 450 is delivered by Total Transit. They operate our Sun Shuttle fleet, but it is a frequency. It's not part of the RTA 48 shuttle services that were really focused on the outlying areas. It is expansion within the core area. This service, Route 450, expands out to the Rita Ranch area. It basically starts and ends at Broadway and Houghton, goes up into the Rita Ranch area, and then through the Pima College East Campus and to the Kolb and Gulf, and then returns back. That's the route that it follows. It's an expanded area, but it's the original intention was to begin this service and then basically shift it over to Suntran once there was the growth in ridership to warrant that, and it was kind of the pioneering of that new route. That's why 450 is in with the other Suntran frequency and area expansions. Things that are also in there are the expansion of service out to the Casino del Sol along the Valencia route. That's paid for in that amount, as are plugs, or those buses that are brought into service when a route is overtaxed on its existing schedule. Continuing on, we have Pima County Transit Services. Those are the services that are in the area outside the corporate limits of the city of Tucson. We absorbed those back in 2010 from the city. We have an intergovernmental agreement with the city, or with the county and with the city of Tucson. So it's kind of a pass through. It's those Suntran services that occur outside of the corporate limits of the city of Tucson in unincorporated Pima County, and those are the fixed route services there. In that, we also show part of the maintenance of effort that the city, or rather that Pima County provides. Continuing on down, we also have the City of South Tucson Transit Services. We have an obligation to provide a minimum of 1% of the RTA's revenue to all of the smaller jurisdictions. This is part of the way we meet that is we have taken on the transit costs for the city of South Tucson. This is by intergovernmental agreement to the city of Tucson for the provision of Suntrans services, again, only within the corporate limits of the city of South Tucson. And then there's Marana Transit Services. Again, we have a small piece of MOE there. That dollar amount shrank in this year's IGAs, but the MOE is still something that we collect from the city of or the town of Marana, although Marana also gets express bus services that we pay for and paratransit services that we pay for, as well as some inherited Sun shuttle services that travel through the town of Marana as well. So that all, that's the basis for the MOE. We just apply it exclusively in that particular line. No science to that. It just has been where we have done it in the past. Continuing on, and maybe this is a good time for a break. I've been kind of in monologue mode. If people have questions on the committee, I'd be happy to entertain them. Okay. Well, hearing none, I'll continue then. Then we move into the RTA 47, which is where we provide our special needs and elderly transit, or elderly, that's the way it's termed in the ballot. We have volunteer transit that we do in an agreement with Pima Council on Aging. That's at $250,000 a year. We have an expanded area that we do with the Sun Shuttle Dial-A-Ride service. That's area that goes beyond the complementary paratransit area. Now, that's a term that, I'm going to go over this just for the benefit of those people who may be listening. I know all of us, all of the members of this committee are very familiar with what that means, but complementary paratransit is provided, is part of is required by the Americans with Disabilities Act. It basically, if a person is eligible for paratransit services under the terms of the Americans with Disabilities Act, and they want to travel within 3/4 of a mile of an existing fixed route, that is the bus lines, then they're entitled to special needs transportation. And what the RTA did was they, with the RTA plan, we expanded beyond that 3/4 of a mile bandwidth. So we go out well beyond that. So we serve up in north of Tangerine Road. There's no fixed routes anywhere near that, but we provide that service to those clients in that area, in that expanded area. And that's something that has those expansions occurred over a period of time early in the life of the RTA. We have some transferred special needs service. That is, those are services that, again, are also outside of the complementary paratransit area, but they are but they were being delivered by Pima County prior to the RTA coming into existence and taking over that service. So that was transferred to the RTA, and that's where you see some of the rest of the maintenance of effort that Pima County provides us. That's where we're showing that. Then there is the Sun Van paratransit expansion. That covers increases in paratransit coverage as a result of growth. We talked about some of those expanded or those extensions out to, say, Casino del Sol, places like that, and the Route 450. Those are in Sun Van's service area, and they're within the corporate limits of the city of Tucson or are complementary, and those services are delivered by Sun Van. And the city of Tucson and RTA have an intergovernmental agreement to pay for those funds. So that's that 47.3B on the list there. And then there is also the well, that covers the paratransit component of the funding plan, RTA 47, if you will. Continuing on down, then we have RTA 48, which is the circulator routes, the shuttles that go out into the outlying areas. We provide service to within Green Valley and to Green Valley and the Sahuarita area. We also provide service through the town of Oro Valley, in the town of Oro Valley, and we provide service up into Marana and even beyond Marana into Avra Valley with these services. The first item is a capital item. It's for the purchase of Sun shuttle vehicles. This is actually something that the committee voted on last month. So that's why I highlighted it and put in the dollar amounts in yellow. Those were the agreed upon amounts that were in the motion last month, and that's where that's reflected. Then we have Sun Shuttle Base Transit Services. These routes are routes that existed prior to the RTA taking on the expresses, or I'm sorry, the Sun Shuttle systems. Pima County actually operated dial-a-ride in the Ajo area prior to the RTA. They also provided services into Avra Valley and some services up to Oro Valley and routes into. There was a route that went to the Tucson Estates area and another that went to the Santa Fe Mission. Those are those routes. If you'd scroll down. Okay, we have expanded transit services. Those are new routes that have, and I'm sorry, I misspoke when I mentioned Oro Valley's Oracle Road route. The 410 is actually a route that's in Marana. It went out to the Marana Town Hall area that existed prior to the RTA. The 401 is the route that goes up Oracle Road into Oro Valley and even into Catalina. That's on the next item. That's the Sun Shuttle Expanded Transit Services. We do get some rural transit money on that, as we do with the project above it. Those are referred to as 5311 funds. Those are delivered to us through basically the state of Arizona provides us these funds on a grant basis. And we've been successful and expect to continue to be successful in receiving those funds. In the future, they cover up to half of the cost of the rural portion of the route. Now, these routes have rural and urban components. It's all dependent upon where the census boundary is, irrespective of where the vehicle travels. So that portion of the vehicles travels in the rural area or outside of the urban boundary is something that we can give 50% reimbursement for the operating cost on. So that applies to both the base services and the expansion services, and those include routes in Marana, in the Green Valley area, in the Oro Valley area, and an increase in the Ajo to Tucson route. Which was when we, or prior to the RTA, was a 3-day-a-week service. Now it's a 5-day-a-week service. And so those are that's the RTA 48 component, which is the shuttle services. Then we move into the express bus service. those are the expansions that we did. This is RTA 49 is how it's captioned. And again, one thing that I neglected to mention was that all of these numbers, as you look to the right in future years, they're all grown out. The costs are all grown out at 3%. In the case of the 5311 funding, it's also grown out at 3%. In the case of maintenance of effort funding, we've been more conservative and we grew that out at 1%. The maintenance of effort is based upon the GDP, and it has varied between prior to this year, it's varied between 1% and 3% per year. This year is a very unknown year. The GDP actually dropped by 33% in, I believe it was 33% in the second quarter, the United States. And then it rebounded and came back about the same amount in the third quarter. So it'll be interesting to watch. We think we're safe though in looking at a 1% growth rate on it, safe and conservative. Getting back to the express bus service though, RTA 49, it includes the amount that there's two sources of it. One is an IGA that we have with the city of Tucson for the express bus services that they offer. And then we also have designated the route between Green Valley, Sahuarita, and Tucson, the Route 421, that is designated as an express route. And that is where we pay for it, is out of RTA 49. Okay, continuing on to the final page, we do have streetcar funding. It's RTA 50. It's a named project. It gets the full amount that was identified on the ballot, which is $87.727 million. About the 75 million of it was expended on capital. The remaining amount was meted out at between $2 million and $1.2 million a year until it was exhausted. This is the last year, fiscal 22 is the last year that there is remaining funds under that intergovernmental agreement with the city of Tucson for the streetcar. We are programming that at $1.127 million. That exhausts that amount that was on the ballot. And then the final two projects are park and rides. We do have built into the existing intergovernmental agreements with the town of Oro Valley and with the city of Tucson, some funding for operations or maintenance of the park and rides at Broadway and Houghton and in Oro Valley. And those are fairly modest amounts. They don't always get billed. They're available, and that's what we had agreed to in our IGAs. And with that, Madam Chair, that concludes my report. What we're seeking today is basically an approval of this as a plan. This is not the TIP, but this is a transit financial plan for the remaining years of the RTA. And with that, I'd be happy to entertain any questions and would appreciate a motion for approval.
Is there any discussion? Thanks, Jim, for the presentation. Is any discussion, questions?
Hello, it's Jonathan. Can you hear me?
Yes, Jonathan, we can.
All right, good. Jim, just a quick question. So you said it's not the TIP, even though you've organized it in sort of the TIP format. So would your intent be to submit this or some version of this into the TIP?
That's a great question, Jonathan. Yes, it would be a part of the TIP once we agree to it. The TIP is also a financial plan, so it's not inconsistent with it. But at this point, we are looking to basically identify the RTA component of it, so we can accelerate some conversations about the RTA funding through the remaining life of the plan.
Okay, thanks.
Hi, John Hawbaker, and I vote that we approve this plan as presented.
I have a motion by John to approve the 5-year financial plan for fiscal year 22-26 for RTA. Do I have a second?
Hi, this is
Yeah,
James. Go ahead.
Go ahead, James. It's all yours.
Okay, this is James. I second.
I have a motion by John from Oro Valley and James from the city of Tucson to approve the 5-year financial plan for fiscal year 22-26 for RTA. I'm going to move to a roll call vote by jurisdiction. City of Tucson,
Aye.
Aye.
City of South Tucson, Tohono O'odham Nation, Pasquayaqui Tribe, Pima County,
Yes.
Town of Marana,
Yes.
Town of Sahuarita,
Aye.
Town of Oro Valley.
Aye.
None opposed, ayes win, and motion passes to approve the 5-year RTA transit plan for fiscal year 22-26.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Can I make, hey, Amber, I'm sorry, this is Chris Boyd. I wanted to make one comment during the discussion, but John made the motion, so I'm going to go ahead and insert that comment now. The city appreciates the thorough explanation by Jim, and in the future, when there are action items, having an explanation and sort of all questions answered before a motion is requested is appreciated. So I just wanted to make that comment, and that's it. Thanks.
Duly noted.
I have this, I'm from Oro Valley. I have a question unrelated to this when we get to that point before Jim leaves.
Madam Chair, John, if this is related to the issue, we can take it. If it's not on the agenda, I would be happy to talk to you about whatever questions you have after the meeting, but I don't think we can entertain it as a part of the meeting per the open meeting laws.
Okay, I have one update on RTA next. So.
Okay, yeah. Madam Chair, that may be something that we could listen or list as a potential topic for the next meeting.
Yes, and that does move us into scheduling a tentative meeting for January 12th at Tuesday at 11 a.m. And we've got some suggestions. And if any of the jurisdictions have any additional ideas, please email them to me. We'd like to, now that we've kind of got the virtual meeting down, which we did have some hiccups today, and luckily we were able to get them all sorted out. We'd like to continue and keep a good interchange between our jurisdictions and the members of our working group with full communication, and just get updates and information about the jurisdictions and what you're doing with your services, and if you have any questions. So I would like to tentatively schedule that for January 12th. And with no further questions, I would like to adjourn the meeting at 11:40. Do I have to do motions or seconds?
I would recommend that, yeah.
Okay. Can I get a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved. Lisa, Town of Marana.
Can I get a second to adjourn the meeting?
I'll second. This is Anna from Sahuarita.
Thank you, Anna. I have a motion and a second to adjourn the meeting at 11:40 of the Transit Working Group in December 8th of 2020. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
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 All opposed? Ayes are in favor, and motion carries to adjourn the meeting. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Amber. Thanks, Jim.
Thank you.
Thank you.